Time to get up, Tim. It's the truth, please.
freedomtalkradio.co.uk.
Let's go!
This is the most diverse, most amazing, one of the funniest radio stations you could ever listen to on the internet. I've heard so much stuff from the ups, the downs, the left, the right.
The politics, the non-politics, the schmolitics, whatever you want to call them.
It's great.
Thanks for listening to The Truth Police Live with Andy Peacher from the UK and Timothy Spearman from Canada. Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 5 p.m. UK time. Find the Truth Police radio show on Facebook. Visit Tim's website at www.shakesaspire.com or visit www.lulu.com. Search for Timothy Spearman and find his book Sailing the Seven Seas, Butterfly Dreams and Odds on Favourite. Visit the station's website www.freedomtalkradio.co.uk or email the show at freedomtalkradio2013@gmail.com or Skype us at Freedom Talk Radio 1. Thanks for listening to The Truth Police.
You're listening to Freedom Talk Radio. We are dedicated to providing free access to our internet network. If you would like to get involved, contact us in any of the following ways. Go to freedomtalkradio.net/contact-us to contact us in writing. That's freedomtalkradio.net/contact-us. Or you can email us at freedomtalkradio2013@gmail.com or info@freedomtalkradio.net. Be sure to tune in for some of our exciting shows. On Monday, tune in from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. for The Truth Police with Andy Peacher and Tim Spearman. On Tuesdays, be sure to check out Tim Clark's End Time Matrix News from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Then, stay tuned for Andy Peacher's Musicians and Bands show from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. On Thursdays, from 2 to 4 p.m., it's Andy Peacher's Families Reunited show. Friday is a busy day on freedomtalkradio.net as we get the weekend off to a great start. From 12 noon to 2 p.m., once again, it's Tim Clark's End Times Matrix News. From 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., it's The Cosmic College with Sasha and Janet Lesson. Heat up your weekends on Saturdays from 12 noon to 2 p.m. with the Knights of Liberty show with Andy Peacher and Tim Spearman. And then, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., Bill Zam is surrounded by idiots. So be sure to tune in to all of our shows on freedomtalkradio.net.
Indeed. Welcome to Monday, Tim. It's the police again. And we're here to give some news and to arrest some people who have been telling us some disinformation.
Well, there's already a few of them in lockup now, Andy. I don't know if we've got enough room for all of them.
Well, we've not captured the big ones yet, but when we do, we'll definitely make more room for them all. I think we'll need the UK to fit them all in, the amount of people out there.
I think you've got a chock-a-block full of cons already, seems to me.
Yeah, we've got no room for anybody that goes to jail over here. So if we did jail the leaders, the liars, the fraudsters, we'd have no room.
I hear you, I know. Anyway, we can always push a few out to sea and send them over to Australia. We did that a while back.
This is true. Well, shall I start off with the it's kind of three stories linked into one, really, in a way. The flight MH370, according to the Malaysian government, has crashed with no survivors. The latest in the 2-week search for the missing Boeing 777 plane is just out via Sky News. That's UK Sky News. Malaysia Airlines deeply regret that we have to assume beyond any reasonable doubt the MH370 was lost, and none of those on board survived. Sky News today says we assume this means that the search for the missing plane is now over, even though there is so far no evidence to substantiate the lack of any reasonable doubt beyond the Malaysia Airlines claim. Message from Malaysia Airlines, and it's printed, we deeply regret, etc., etc. So they're saying it's gone down somewhere in the Indian Ocean, but there's no proof, which is very highly sus again. And I linked that to another story which was out today also. And if you look at the video here, which you can't see obviously because I'm not doing video streaming like Bill can, but the video shows the airstrip on the captain's flight simulator. So flight MH370 is at Diego Garcia, and here's the proof. And the video is named Proof MH370 is in Diego Garcia. While the mainstream media and people around the world continue their wild goose chases for the missing plane, the videos below provide facts that our videographers say prove that the missing plane is at Diego Garcia, top secret US military base. The math for the flight's mileage and time add up perfectly with the facts presented here to show that the ongoing search for a crashed plane in the ocean is just theatre. There's another video, flight MH370 is at Diego Garcia. Here's the proof, and so on. So, yeah, one of the videos showed the plane, simulated a landing at that airport. But I wonder if it's anything to do with this story. Israel prepares for World War III, first strike, and prepared for Malaysia Flight 370 terrorist attack 2 months before it went missing. With the blockbuster news that all of Israel's embassies and consulates are closing for the first time ever in history, supposedly due to a union strike, it is noteworthy that just days before this hit the MSM, it was reported that Israel was preparing to launch the first strike against Iran as part of a coordinated operation led by the Pentagon. Furthermore, in January, 2 months before the reports of Malaysia Flight 370 disappearing, Israel conducted an emergency preparedness drill, which included a fictional airplane crashing into a residential area, causing hundreds of casualties. Initially, the lot where the plane crashed in the simulation stood behind a screen showing a picture of modern apartment buildings. Suddenly, a loud explosion shook the ground. The screen fell away, revealing collapsed buildings, real airplane engines still smouldering atop the rubble, and actors displaying all manner of wounds, crying out for help. Some were walking in a daze, others helping nearby casualties move away from the smouldering ruins. Secondary explosions struck repeatedly, adding to the catastrophe of the disaster with the constant wailing of ambulances and other emergency vehicles. While Israel does not decide, Israel may be used by Washington as a proxy, namely to fire the first shot without the US being officially involved. While all eyes have been on Russia's actions in the Ukraine and the back and forth threats and sanctions between Russia, the US and the EU, Israel has been preparing and given the IDF orders to continue readying for a possible independent strike on Iran. While the Israel first strike option does not officially have the blessing of Obama, let us be under no illusion it has. For several years been part of the Pentagon's war plans. It's called indirect warfare, whereby US proxies, including Israel, wage war on behalf of Uncle Sam and in liaison with the Pentagon. This is all part of the overall plan for World War III. There's loads more to go on that, but it's all very shocking, Tim.
I've got a theory to share with you about the flight. You ready for this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. This is a message from Matthew. And this came March 20th, 2014. With loving greetings from all souls at this station, this is Matthew. And now I shall speak only for myself. When the Malaysian aircraft went missing, I was assisting a civilization in another galaxy and had no knowledge of the event until 3 days later, when my mother first heard about it and asked me what I knew. Thereupon, I contacted a colleague in Nirvana, whose investigation disclosed that 3 persons had been in an airplane immediately prior to arriving in Nirvana, which you could take as a synonym for heaven. On the day the plane disappeared, my colleague told me their records show that they died of natural causes in accordance with their soul contracts, and he couldn't verify that they were on the plane in question. Since then, responsibilities and family visits have kept my mother's thoughts and time occupied, and when she asked today if I have verifiable information, I told her yes, but I prefer that she receive it directly from my source, Ashtar. So this is Ashtar's message. Yes, Susie, I know, and hello, it's been quite a while since we talked, and I'm glad for this opportunity to be together. After Matthew asked me to tell you what I know, I put together a little presentation of sorts, and I'll get right to it. All persons aboard the missing airliner were relocated to a small planet that approximates your atmosphere and to some extent the topography, and the inhabitants are fairly similar to your population in appearance. When the plane developed serious malfunctions that couldn't be remedied, we shifted it into a higher dimension and set course for that planet. None of the soul contracts with the crew and passengers included such an adventure, but neither did they include death at that time. In cases like this, we are authorized to step in. The unexpected experience was real to them because all witnessed the plane's abrupt turn, yet surreal because they were flying through space unlike anything they had ever seen. There was no panic because immediately the rescuers used our communication system to tell them what was transpiring, and the energy of the loving explanation created a peaceful acceptance within those people whose future was being redirected. The plane was dematerialized after all had disembarked. They were met by some of our crew members who had taken on Earth body appearances and garb to ease the newcomers' first moments in their new land and taken to what you would call an exclusive resort. It is the starting over point for all Earth souls who were rescued by other civilizations, and there have been many of those occasions in your past centuries. During the first days, the group received the downloading of the only language spoken in that world and basic knowledge of the population. It is a simple procedure, like the workings of your computers. After an orientation, briefing, and photographic overview of what the region offers, each person was given the choice of various types of living quarters, individual transportation mode, and employment or schooling. Each was given a paper that functions like a ticket to attend all events desired, and plenty of the tokens that are used to obtain articles or services. From the resort, all were taken to the quarters they chose and given their chosen mode of private transportation. Food and all other basic necessities were given for housekeeping. You could think of this as an unusually elaborate welcome wagon service. The newcomers' knowledge, talents, and interests will be well used and appreciated in that world, and just as on Earth, life there is as fulfilling and meaningful as each chooses to make it. Well, that's another theory, isn't it, Andy?
Yes, sorry, Tim. I was I have one of these Windows 8, and you have to be in different departments to do things, whereas normal XP, you can have hundreds of different windows open and be everywhere at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But Windows 8, you have to flick between application. So if I go quiet on you, I am here. Right, I've got another couple of little stories, which are quite big actually, but they're little in the sense that it's not a long one like the main subject I've researched today. This is NASA. It stuns ISS live feed shut down in 2 weeks. Why is something coming our way? Public forums are having a field day debating why NASA is suddenly... Two seconds, Joanne. Someone at the door. Sorry, someone's at the door and Joanne's half asleep. Right, yeah, so these forums are having a field day debating why NASA suddenly made the announcement that they are shutting down the live feed to the International Space Station. ISS in 2 weeks. Speaking of the Vatican and dark matter, a videographer asked if something is coming our way that they don't want us to see. Is this shut down because of all the UFOs recently seen on the ISS live stream? Second video below, does it have anything to do with the fact that the ISS is jointly run between the US and Russia? Investigates the facts we know and possibilities in these videos. Again, I wish we had that live video feed, but if people want it, it's the NASA announcement, ISS, data be shut off. Yeah, it doesn't. It's nice blog, this blog is, but it kind of gives you most evidence in videos.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why they're shutting off the ISS. Could it be they don't want to see the Third World War?
I don't know, Andy. I don't know. Oh.
We've got news that Nancy Lanza, she's alive. Her life today is on the Undead of Sandy Hook. Shocking video. N. Morgan in the horror story of Sandy Hook. Nancy Lanza, Adam's mother, has been somewhat of a mystery. I met a rather awful end, according to the official tale. It would appear that perhaps Nancy never died. The real undead of this false flag, another part of this farce known as the Sandy Hook Massacre. The absurd photographs from inside the Lanza house would be enough to show normal people that her death was definitely fate. However, here we will provide several additional layers of evidence that she obviously is still alive, living her life today. In fact, it appears that Nancy and Peter are back together again. Sans Adam, of course. To fit into this false flag theory, the person wrote an article about how the residents of Sandy Hook got their homes for free. They were completely paid off on Christmas. A careful search of the available records fails to validate a single one of the identities or names appearing in the database of fake child victims. Instead, we see a collection of disposable identities, evidently cultivated specifically for the event. These identities are portrayed by real children as models using photographs of various suitable dates. The children models themselves have likely been kept more or less ignorant of their exact roles in the Sandy Hook fraud. The same defense of ignorance cannot be used as an excuse by the participating adults. However, a reasonable guess as to how fake children's names could be enrolled in the school might involve the fact that the principal of the school is related to the Lanza family, including, of course, to Ryan Lanza, whose alter ego Adam is designated as the shooter. Remember as well that Nancy Lanza's sister is proven to have been an important figure in the CIA. How cool is that? Perhaps a little investigation of Dawn Hochsprung's relationship with the CIA is worth doing also. I mean, linking that to another false flag, one of my friends, and I didn't even know he knew too much about him, but he videoed every single scene and got all the evidence, and that was the Lee Rigby trial, the massacre of this soldier in London, and he can prove that there was never a body. it was all staged by actors. I've heard videos where people on the bus says, "Are we allowed to go there because they're still filming?" Things like that. So Sandy Hook, Lee Rigby, definitely big false flags.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got an urgent warning if you want, and then I'll rest my tongue for a minute. I've got an urgent warning to the USA law enforcement. Beware of the 28th of March 14, or 3/28/14 in your terminology. And these are the facts, and you're good with numbers, Tim. 4 mass murderers in our country, Aurora, Sandy Hook, Santa Monica, and LAX, have occurred according to a pattern. All were on a Friday, on the day of a crescent moon, and all have occurred in a numerical pattern of 147 and 322 days. This chart will make these facts self-evident. And there's a chart here.
Did you say 322 days?
Yeah.
Ah, well, that's the March equinox. That's the spring equinox, 322. The
pattern was 147 days and 322 days. I'll just explain why. I'll have to do it in English, I'm afraid. On the 20th of July 12, there was 147 days from the Batman movie release day, the Aurora shooting, to the next event, which was which was Sandy Hook in December. Then there was 147 days to the solar eclipse, which was October 13, and then there was for some reason 28 days until D, which is Santa Monica shooting. Then again another 147 days to the LAX shooting, and then again to the Yellowstone shooting, or the Yellowstone event. But it did mention up there 322 days.
For what?
Yeah, I don't know that, but it's not on the chart. It says 147 days.
The lodge number for the Skull and Bone Society at Yale University is 322. That's the Freemason Lodge it is lodge number 322. So that could mean that the operation was coordinated by the Skull and Bone Society, or it could just be an occult reference to 322, which is March 22nd, which is the Satanist, one of the cardinal holidays of the Satanists for committing ritual sacrifice, because it's the spring equinox.
Oh, okay, I've worked it out now. Where the 322 days come into it, that's from Sandy Hook to the solar eclipse, and then from the solar eclipse to Santa Monica, there was 28 days. So 147 and 28 and another 147 gives you 322.
Okay.
Now that makes sense. And the same again with, if you start off at 28 days on the solar eclipse, then move on to Santa Monica, then go on to the LAX, again going on then to Yellowstone, again that's 322 days again.
Really? Okay, well send me that article, that's very good.
There's a video to go with it as well.
Send me the link, will you? Great.
Absolutely. I knew you'd understand that, but I didn't. But I thought, you understand the number things.
Yeah, as for the 147, I have to work on that one. I haven't figured that one out yet.
There'll be some kind of logical explanation.
Well, no doubt.
147, so that means you add it up to 12.
It does. It comes out to numerology 12. True.
Well, I'll just start with one last little story, then I've got a big one whenever you're ready for a big one. But I think this story starts off a little bit about the next thing. Where are we? I think it's that one. Nephilim among us today. Satan's throne is ready. Obama, Freemasons, secret Luciferian architecture, and the coming satanic empire. People have been fascinated for years with the scripture in Genesis 6:4, which states there were giants in the earth on those days, and also after that, when the sons of God come in unto the daughters of men, and they bear children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. The Nephilim are among us today. When 1/3 of the angels, along with Lucifer, who then became Satan, were cast from heaven for the great rebellion against God, they became known as fallen angels because they fell from heaven, landing on the top of Mount Hermon. They were extremely evil and taught men their knowledge, as well as had sexual relations with the daughters of men. Their offspring are called the Nephilim. They are still here today, the Luciferians of the elite society. Those same Nephilim, I can't even say that right, are among us in the form of disembodied spirits and in the flesh. As sons and daughters of the serpent seed, they have one goal: to destroy all of God's creations and create for themselves a new world order that is ruled by Satan in the body of a man who the Bible tells us is called the Antichrist. There are many of them strategically placed all over the world, known as the United Nations, the elitists, Freemasons, the various entertainment industries, and much, much more. It's very clever. It's very close to my next subject. They are also operating in our government systems and in our false religious movements. So what were the biblical giants like? They had several rows of teeth and were alleged to eat as many as 1,000 oxen, horses, and camels every day, according to the Midrash Abkir. But when they ran out, they turned on men and the inhabitants of the earth, men, women, children, and even infants. Tradition states the Nephilim had phenomenal psychic abilities. They performed alleviation, mind control, remote viewing. They also had the power to pronounce and remove curses as well as diseases, and were able to predict the future. They were highly intelligent beings, educated in areas of architecture, science, engineering, medical, and more. These skills, combined with their powers and intelligence, were used to build megalithic structures throughout the world, such as the pyramids. They brought about human sacrifice, which includes the humane act of abortion. Enoch states that they drank blood and taught abortion, and the fifth was named Castija. Castija. This is he who showed the children of men all the wicked smitings of spirits and demons, and the smitings of the embryo in the womb, that it may pass away, and the smitings of the soul, the bites of the serpent. Enoch 62:12 verse A. They also had large skulls to support their large brains, and were very tall. Shocking, new DNA evidence proves Nephilim, and scientists are stunned. It goes very close to what the next story is all about. In rabbinic literature, the rabbis concede that these giants had many names. They were called Emim, because whoever saw one of them was seized with terror. Reptilians, because their sight made power soft, fearful like wax. Giborium, because their brains alone measured 18 ells, 45 feet by this author's calculation. Zamzumin, because they inspired fear and were fierce warriors. Anakim, because they were huge necklaces in great numbers. Avium, because they destroyed the world and were themselves destroyed. Nephilim, because they caused the world to fall and fell themselves. When these fallen angels had sex with human women, they gave birth to the Nephilim. The King James Bible states that they are giants. Interestingly enough, giants in the Hebrew translation are defined as those who ruined the world, by their violence. They comprise three classes: the original giants who begot the Nephilim, to whom in turn were born the Eliud, Book of Enoch, and there's too many long words in this one, but you get the idea roughly. And the people are wicked. They're living on this earth today, whether they be the giants or the small people. I'd like to suggest that they may actually be the reptilians or the shapeshifters, as they're commonly known as. And when I got my breath back, I've got some audio which does last 25 minutes, 3 of them, but I think it's very interesting. It tells the story of what I couldn't tell.
Sure.
I don't know if you want to start with anything you've got today, and I'll tell you who these wonderful creatures or people are, and then we'll move on to the audio clips. Very interesting.
It is very interesting. Well, North Korea has conducted several missile tests over the past month, and it has test-fired dozens of short-range rockets in the last 24 hours. And, of course, this has caused anger from the government in South Korea. Analysts say the launches are Pyongyang's way of protesting the joint military exercises held between the United States and South Korea. Some 16 rockets were fired into the sea on Sunday, following the launch of 30 on Saturday. Pyongyang claims its rocket tests are routine self-defense exercises, but the North has bitterly criticized the annual war drills by Washington and Seoul, labeling them invasion preparations. Pyongyang has been angered by joint U.S.-South Korean military drills. The isolated state often shows a show of force at the same time as the drills, but this year there have been an unusually high number of rockets launched. Experts say some 70 missiles have been fired so far this month, including the 46th from this weekend. The South Korean military says that the North appears to be firing frog rockets, which are unguided Soviet-developed devices that Pyongyang has had in its armory since the 1960s. My guess on rocket technology that is pinpoint accurate, and they're just firing off these frog rockets just to test the rockets that are, let's just say, expendable and of no worth to them, as a show of bravado and basically just firing off their port bow to warn the enemy, but none of this arsenal is of any value to them, so they don't mind blowing off this type of weaponry because ultimately they have far more formidable weapons in their arsenal. But this serves to have them underestimated, perhaps by the enemy, who they hope will imagine that this is the best they've got to show. But South Korea and the U.S. have criticized the North's missile test. Earlier this month, Seoul said that one such experiment took place in the same vicinity as the Chinese passenger plane. Also in early March, the U.S. asked the UN Security Council to take appropriate action against North Korea's missile launches, which it said clearly use ballistic technology. Under UN resolutions, North Korea is required to abandon its ballistic missiles programs.
So North Korea's been up to it again then?
Yeah. Not to ever be underestimated. I mean, they've been crying wolf now since 1953, and I'd say that it's been an effective strategy because no one takes them seriously and all of their blunder busting is ignored. And I think one day, they could just launch another surprise attack as they did just before 6 a.m. in the year 1950 when they launched the Korean War. They could easily launch a surprise attack just as they did in the Korean War and attack the South. Now, the prophecies of Gang Il-sun, the Korean prophet, is that Seoul will be turned into a sea of fire and that Busan will become so decimated that all that will be seen is sticks floating in the water, and even with the bean field, which is Daejeon. Daejeon is about 2 hours by commuter train from Seoul, surrounded by mountains, and it's purportedly the only safe haven for when he said that the Third World War would break out, and it would break out at the demilitarized zone, the 38th line of parallel, and would only last 3 days because of the mysterious disease, which I take to be the effects of radiation poisoning, because all the radiation that's already there would only be stirred up, and it would be I've forgotten the terminology for it, but if there were radiation on the ground from Fukushima in various forms like cesium-137, cesium-132, strontium radiation, whatever, any war activity would simply make the radioactive particulate more volatile. So I think that would precipitate a mass death event, which he prophesied would take place. And he said about a 58 to 60-day period of mass death would occur on the Korean Peninsula, and then that mysterious disease, which is the only way someone in that time frame could have described radiation poisoning, because not even the concept of radiation was in circulation back in the turn of the 20th century. This is a man that only lived for 40 years, and he was born in the 19th century and died around 1912 or some time around that time frame. And so yeah, I hope not, but certainly he's been right so far in terms of his prophecies.
Yeah, definitely. And in a way, I hope the next subject isn't true, but then there's a lot of evidence out there, and it wasn't just David Icke that first brought this up. There was other people that disagreed. Now, one of their main leaders that disagreed with David Icke's theory is now publicly saying David Icke is right, but he may have got mixed up on the way somewhere. So these people are basically, we're talking about the reptilians, the shapeshifters. They are actually real, according to most sources now, but whether they're bad shapeshifters or bad reptilians, that's on the debate table. But there isn't a shadow of a doubt in the alternative world that they actually exist now. I spent hours today reading every article and watching every video. So do you want to hear all about the shapeshifters? It's a funny name. It's because their bodies change shapes. Their tongues go longer. Their ears start to, sort of move at a rapid speed. The noses grow and the eyes light up, that sort of thing. So this is before it's news, then I'll get on to there's three little MP3s. They tell the story about basically how to watch out for these people, how they're linked to Freemasons, and so on and so on. But reptilian shapeshifters from hell, Obama, our government, and in our society, ultimate plan of destruction, and the time is now. There's mind-blowing video, says before it's news, and the first one is reptilian shapeshifters from hell, Obama. Satanic rituals, signs, symbolisms, destruction and mass events that affect society as a whole are happening all around us on a near daily basis, and they all have one thing in common, one main goal, leading us to NWO, the New World Order, to usher in the Antichrist. But just who or what is behind these catastrophic events? Reptilian shapeshifters from hell, Obama, our government, and in our society. The Nephilim are among us today, and we are living in the end times. These who follow Bible prophecy are pointing out the signs and the seasons, and how things in the news are fulfilling the prophecies given to us a long time ago. Obama's alien secret service spotted in 2012 at the AirPac conference. This guy is a Secret Service agent, and his chin and his mouth got bigger, and he's supposed to be Secret Service. Warning, I am not sure of the authenticity of the video below, which is the two aliens. They turned into aliens. With that being said, let us take a look at the government leaders and the type of Nephilim known as reptilian shapeshifters. As a side note, the White House responded to a claim about a reptilian shapeshifting Secret Service agent seen at one of the president's speeches, did not deny the claim. Earlier this week, that was early in March, the White House actually responded to these wild claims. In an article posted by Wired Danger Room, the White House dismissed the alien bodyguards as too costly in this era of budgetary austerity. I can't confirm the claims made in this video, but any alleged program to guard the president with aliens or robots would likely have to be scaled back or eliminated in the sequester. Caitlin Hayden, the chief spokesman for the National Security Council, emails Danger Room, I'd refer you to the Secret Service or Area 51 for more details. Even with this statement, Wired points out, though, that it feels journalistically obligated to observe that this isn't a flat denial. Fox News Radio even took interest when a gentleman named Mark claimed Obama, George Bush, Secret Service agents, Hillary Clinton, Jimmy Johnson, Dallas Cowboys ex-coach, and more are reptilian shapeshifters. He stated that they control the media, television, and have taken over Washington. Shocking demonic reptilian face clearly seen on back of Antichrist Obama's head. It gets a bit complicated in this story, I think, but it's easier to listen really to a couple of the clips, which I'll play in a second when I find it.
Yeah, well, this woman who's the IMF whistleblower, Karen Kudis, she also has been quite outspoken about this, and she says that the Vatican is headed up by a different race of beings and different species, in fact, she would put it. And her take on this different race of humanoids is that they're the Homo consensus, she calls them. So if you look on YouTube, you can see her interviews where she talks about Homo consensus, and even her website features skeletons of Homo consensus and skulls of these beings. Now, when she was questioned about the Nephilim and are they the same creatures that were back depicted in the ancient times, she obfuscates doesn't really answer the question, but then tries to suggest that no, they're not. They're not a hybrid because if they tried to breed with us, they would not be able to produce any progeny that would continue to produce a line. They would become a genetic dead end, like breeding a donkey and a horse to produce a mule. A mule is a genetic dead end, can't produce any progeny of its own. Well, I don't believe her. Is she a shill? Probably. And is she trying to direct people away from the truth about these beings? Probably. I don't know. Or she could just be not too up on her topic area because it's a new area of research for her, so she hasn't found out what I have and others that are more advanced or further along in their research have discovered. But anyway, it's nice to see that, again, there's more and more and more people coming on board with this. Fallen angels, Anunnaki, Nephilim, whatever, it's all semantic. It's all the same thing. Anyway, go ahead, Andy, if you want to play that clip.
Yeah, rather than playing 3 of them, I think I'll just play 2 of them because I think the second and third are very similar. The second, well, I don't know. The second actually makes David Icke's theory credible, but they explain why. The first one is how to spot these people, and the third one is, the hijacking the world. I mean, what do you think? 2 of them? 2 of them 15 minutes, 3 of them are 25.
I'll play and see where it goes, and if we've got enough fodder to discuss there, we will. Go ahead.
Yeah, we could just play one at a time and then comment afterwards.
For sure.
All right, then I'll play the first one.
The book of Proverbs, which is the word of God, tells us that wicked men hide when no one is pursuing. That basically means people who hide their face, hide themselves, and do things to other people in secret so that they can't get found out. Now, the Lord has told us that the wicked are scared to come out into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. And of course, then they will be punished, so they hide. Now, these people aren't just your neighbours, aren't just people who run this country. It's all over the place. It's around 20% of the world's population are like this. They are either tares or they are Freemasons. And the Lord has told us that you can tell them by their fruits. Now, in the parable of the wheat and the tares, the angels said to the Lord, "Lord, someone has placed tares amongst the wheat. Shall we go and take them up?" And the Lord said, "No. In case you damage any of the wheat, leave them there until the harvest." But the Lord also did tell us that we can tell them by their fruits. So they are a perfect counterfeit of us. They look like humans. That's their first great advantage. Their second advantage is that they hide. However, God has told us that they are brute beasts of instinct. In other words, they can't help themselves. They do the same thing over and over again. They are obsessive, they are compulsive, and they are absolutely ridiculous. But they are also dangerous and evil. Now, how do we flush these people out? They look like us, so you can't tell whether someone's a tare or a human being. Okay, we can't tell that, but we can tell if someone is a tare or a Freemason. There's a differentiation. You as a normal human being are just a normal human being that God made. You're his prized possession, his masterpiece. These creatures are an abomination. And we have traitors on this earth called Freemasons, who are basically the tares' bitches. They do whatever they say, and they believe that by doing so, they will one day become gods. How ridiculous. Satan hates all human beings. Therefore, to make a promise to a human being that if you go through all of these Freemason rituals, you will become a god, is completely dumb, because he wants to kill you, you stupid Freemason idiots. So how do we flush out these Freemasons and these tares? It's very, very simple. You do what I do. You walk into a shop, you see, for instance, where they have an Illuminati triangle, or they have a half dome or an X or any other Masonic symbol outside their shop or inside their shop. And trust me, 99% of all businesses are run by Freemasons and tares. Just go in, buy what you're going to buy, and casually mention to the person there, who may just be a worker though, so you won't get no reaction if they're just a worker and they don't know. But if it's the owner, and you say to them, there's a lot of flying saucer symbolism in your shop, why is that? You will watch the blood drain from their face before your very eyes. They won't answer you. Their eyes will look to the ground. They'll look this way and that way and look at the ground, but they won't look at you, other than perhaps to stare in disbelief that someone has actually realised what it is that they're up to and who perhaps they are. So you can do this just about anywhere that you go, anywhere that you see any of the symbols which are used by Freemasons. If you walk in and talk about flying saucers, they will have a heart attack on the spot, because they are forbidden from speaking about UFOs. They're not allowed to. They've made a vow. UFOs don't exist. Shh. Go in and ask them. Why are all these flying disc symbols in your shop or outside your shop? Why is it that all the shops around here and all the businesses around here have got winged disc and pyramid symbols on them pertaining to flying saucers? Like I said, you will watch the blood drain from their face, and there you have it. You found yourself either a Freemason or a tear. Which they are, I do not know, and you do not know. But you will know this: where you do not go and give your money ever again, because all of them consider money to be power. So you take their power away from them. Don't give them your money. Spend as little as you have to in any of their businesses and shops. And I mean as little as you have to. Other than that, deny it to them. Don't give them the power. Well, money, they call money power. They're going to find out what power is when Jesus Christ comes back, that's for sure. But that's an experiment that you can try for yourselves. Shops, businesses, whatever. Look for the winged disc symbols and the triangle symbols outside. And when you go in, happen to mention, how comes you've got all these flying saucer symbols in your shop?
freedomtalkradio.co.uk.
Let's go!
This is the most diverse, most amazing, one of the funniest radio stations you could ever listen to on the internet. I've heard so much stuff from the ups, the downs, the left, the right.
The politics, the non-politics, the schmolitics, whatever you want to call them.
It's great.
Yeah, well, that's first video. I thought that was quite interesting, how to spot it. And he was showing me there were British car manufacturers and Chinese and American. They were news agencies. They were radio stations. They were any sort of thing, really, you took for granted.
Right.
So it's amazing that... Is that a coincidence that they all use that symbol that he's talking about? Or was it done deliberately for the greed and the power?
No, they use their occult symbolism to show their control over the multinational corporations that they control. So you can see a lot of Freemason type symbolism. Logo, as in company logo, comes from logos.
I get it.
Logos is reason or logic in Greek. So that's where logic comes from, the word logic. So they have their code language that they communicate their power and control through, and so one of the ways of doing that is through company logos, which is from logos. So this shows their secret language of communication, which is based on symbology and cipher codes and symbols, and so yeah.
The other good example that he gave the other week about the TV stroke program. This is your program to be programmed.
Right. Exactly. So all these companies have logos like the all-seeing eye of ABC News, which whenever their news program comes on, the big logo flashes up right in your face, telling you that the all-seeing eye of Lucifer is on you, the all-seeing eye of Satan, whatever, is on you. Now, I know that some people will debate the point and say that Lucifer and Satan are definitively different beings. I don't think so. I think that it's a reference to the same being. And even if it's not, it doesn't matter, because they're the head demons that run the show, and it doesn't really matter whether you get all these names exactly referring to who they're supposed to refer to. We could be lost in hair-splitting semantics until the end of time. Clearly, it just defines the evil, the metaphysical evil, venerated by a certain group of humans who are traitors, who've sold their soul, who didn't heed the warnings of the Archangel, who told us that it profits a man nothing if he gains the whole world and loses his soul. He gave us ample warnings. He told us the consequences of our actions. And some people just are too short-sighted, too naive, too brainwashed to see that this stuff is real, that they're getting into dangerous waters. They get their warnings. They're told that they don't listen. I had a lawyer next door to me at the office where I teach, and we had a little conversation, and Freemasonry came up. And he said, I've been asked to join. What do you think? I said, I would strongly urge you not to. I should have gone with the crime syndicate angle and the fact that at some point they're going to call in a favor, and he's going to find that he's going to have to commit some criminal act that goes against his conscience. But I instead brought up the fact that you're joining a satanic organization, and he doesn't believe in Satan, and doesn't believe that any such thing could exist, and it's absurd to even contemplate the notion. Would he become a Freemason? Probably. Do I have any sympathy for him? No. Will he damn himself to hell in all eternity? Maybe. Do I care? Well, I tried to warn the guy, and I've actually found that there's already a vibrational change in him. He's not a nice person anymore. So I suspect he's already been initiated. All I can say is good luck to him and his immortal soul.
Yeah, well, people who get led down the wrong path, you can't do nothing for them. You can only warn them if they don't want to take advice. Then that's their problem, and you've done your bit as a human being. Yeah, it's almost shocking to see the change in him, because he was so hospitable, so nice, so gracious, and now he's just a totally different human being. So I would say he's already gone through his initiation rites. That'd be my guess. Don't people, I'm not saying he will, but isn't it possible to get inside the Freemasonry organization just as a researcher, or somebody who lets out the secrets of how they run?
Well, yeah, I mean, look at David Icke's interview with Credo Mutwa called The Reptilian Agenda, and you can see that Credo will actually tell David, I got smuggled into a Masonic temple and I witnessed a sacrifice of a young virgin child, and I witnessed it. I watched what happened. Now, you have to understand that like you and I would not be able to just sit there and watch, but he's a shaman, and the level of wisdom here is a whole order altogether. I mean, he's reached a kind of sage status type enlightenment that probably allows him to see things from a whole different level from what you and I would see it from. The problem is, for you and I to witness such a horror show, what will we do about it? Call the police? And what, have the Masonic elements within the police just obstruct justice and get in the way of it all? Of course that's what would happen, and you'd end up getting nowhere, and the whole thing would be whitewashed and covered up, and you'd maybe have your own life threatened for having witnessed a Freemason murder happening in one of their own lodges and trying to go public with it. And since you and I are in the media field, there might be efforts to try to threaten us. Well, I mean, I'm a living testament, and I believe you are too, Andy, of being messed with. What's happened to you and your family and what's happened to me and my family are just a living example of what happens to people that oppose the satanic forces on this planet. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Should we move on and play the second clip?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
It's very, very good. They all are, actually.
And then you got to ask yourself why. Why would anybody use poisonous snakes as a murder weapon?
Maybe it's symbolic. I mean, serpents and religion have gone hand in hand. They've represented the temptation of Eve, original sin. They've been feared and hated throughout history as they've been thought to embody Satan, to serve evil itself.
Maybe these ones actually do.
These particular serpents actually were serving evil? Are you going to type that on our travel request?
No.
The topic of this video is the Demon Reptilian program. They serve us. In this video, I'm going to explain that the Demon or Reptilian agenda that has become the truth to many people may not be as it seems. A lot of information on the Reptilians suggests that they're from off-planet and are here to conquer, remove, or enslave the human race. I think that for many people who have woken up to them tend to believe that anyone producing information on them has a large amount of credibility because they are supposedly exposing these non-human entities. I have explained previously that many in the conspiracy realm exposing occult information, be they public speakers, website hosters, and even fellow YouTube channels, may be reptilians themselves, and perhaps not all of them are evil or bad. I will share with you another aspect of this from my perspective. What if these serpents are stuck here just as we are? Maybe stuck isn't the right word, but I believe that they have been placed here and didn't happen to come here from the Draco system or Orion or wherever it is that these truthers and channelers say. I'm going to bring up the case that perhaps they're here and have been here to serve us.
I hate this place, this zoo, this prison, this reality, whatever you want to call it. I can't stand it any longer. I must get out of here. I must get free.
The reason that I believe they are not connected to their extraterrestrial family is because they don't seem to have any actual extraterrestrial technology. If you have technology that could be, as a guesstimate, 1 trillion years advanced, and that's just monodimensional thinking, why does all the tools they seem to be using against us seem to be barely, if at all, more advanced than what we're using now? If they wanted to spray the people with poisons or control the ionosphere for this HARP or Project Bluebeam without us knowing, Why don't they use some super inviso cloak to hide what looks like your modern-day planes and to hide the chemtrails that so many people are now aware of? Why don't they have some other dimensional anti-gravity hovering invisible frequency range, plasma denullifying quantum prothean devices, and instead pumping out these things that I call doomsday towers all over the place? From the point of view from an advanced alien race, even these things I'm pointing out are extremely primitive ways to get things done. The thing is, we cannot begin to comprehend what kinds of technology that an extraterrestrial race would hold. These entities are not as big and powerful as many claim they are. I believe that they are terrestrial and are nothing to be afraid of because they have rules or a program that they must follow.
I've seen an agent punch through a concrete wall. Men have emptied entire clips at them and hit nothing but air. Yet their strength and their speed are still based in a world that is built on rules. Because of that, they will never be as strong or as fast as you can be.
To figure out why they are here, let's see where it is that we usually find them. The most notable places where you find these people are in the entertainment and news industries, in big business, in politics, basically in any realm where they have the ability to influence the masses of the people. The message that these entities seem to be promoting is that greed is good, that war is glorious, that vanity is something worth fighting for, that fame is the ultimate story of success. They are tempters, nothing more. They tempt us with the illusions of money, sex, fame, and whatever else they can use to entrap you into thinking materialistically. Those filthy scumbuckets.
You filthy scumbucket!
The whole system on this planet seems to be based on keeping us attached to their illusions, but only enough to allow us to break out of it and see the errors of our ways. What I'm saying is that if you look at the demons or reptilians from a larger point of view, then perhaps they're not quite the bad guys as we're being manipulated to believe.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
I've come across a lot of people who believe that they're learning about these demons or reptilians in order to fight them. Many people seem to think of themselves as some kind of reptilian-destroying warriors, and I will show you how people are being manipulated into thinking this way. Why do people think there's this war against the reptilians? If you have a look for yourself, you will find that many movies and other sources of entertainment depict the reptiles as the main antagonist. People are being manipulated into thinking of these entities as the boogeymen, something that they don't understand and therefore something to be afraid of. The TV show V and its remake are perfect examples of what I'm speaking about. To many, these shows depict what is really going on in the world, and there appears to be a lot of evidence to support this case. But perhaps this evidence was supposed to hit the alternative media. The alternative media, which gets into the subject, strongly paints them as an invincible force of evil. In addition, these Pleiadian and other extraterrestrial teachings claim exactly that. They claim that there's this ancient war of humans versus reptilians being the bad guys, all the while people are being manipulated to think that they need to fight for what is right.
What are we holding on to, Sam? There's some good in this world, Mr. Burrow. And it's worth fighting for.
So get out your axe and start hacking away. Do you remember the cartoons that we watched when we were younger? There's one thing that repeats over and over again, and that is the idea that we must fight literally in the physical sense for what is right. The same theme carries on to most television shows and many books and movies. The main antagonist of most of these is almost always a very bad guy, and the right thing to do is to fight the bad guy to the death. That dying, trying to fight the bad guys is the ultimate sacrifice. What if the antagonist in these shows only appeared to be evil and was completely misunderstood? Who would be the bad guy then?
Is that the best you can do?
There's plenty more where that came from, you overgrown seafood platter.
You're the ones about to be cooked. Let's blast the mutant.
What?
He's got a power blaster.
They're not evil to be evil. There's no ancient human versus reptilian war. They're not here to take over the planet. They're not here to put us underground and devour us. We've been manipulated into thinking this way. I picture them more like the Borg. They don't have free will because they run off a program. That program may seem a sinister one, but the purpose of it is to serve us. The reptilians, demons, or archons, whatever you want to call them, are here to serve us. They are giving us true free will. and they are giving us an actual choice between good and evil as a path to follow that wouldn't be available without all this manipulation. They're giving us a chance to see evil in action, understand it, and learn from it. In the Bible, God sent the serpent to tempt Eve and Adam, not to eat them. So from this understanding, we can see why there is so much evil in the world. From the factory farming to the starving children to the greed, the lust, the vanity, it's all one big setup to allow us to learn from it and give us a conscious choice on whether to go with it or not. Those of us who have consciously chosen to use our free will not and cannot be interfered with on a physical level. Those of us who believe that there is a war against them and have chosen to fight in it may experience exactly that. They have fallen for their illusion and have become part of it. Things are never as we're told. I've been critical of the speakers, especially those in the conspiracy realm, and I believe for good reason. They pretend to know what's really going on, just as our teachers, preachers, and politicians pretend to know the truth. They're part of the manipulation, and it must be this way. I didn't make this video to tell you what's real and what's not. For all I know, the human race could be the main ingredient for some huge extraterrestrial planetary fast food chain, but until we know for sure, I'd say it's best to stop pointing our fingers at everyone or everything we don't understand. We are ready to stop playing the victim. People are being manipulated into believing the future is something to be feared, and that these serpents are something to be afraid of. It's okay to not know who runs the world. It's okay to not know what's going to happen in the future. It's okay to not know these entities or their agenda. It's okay to not know anything. In fact, I highly recommend it because knowing is not of this density.
No one laughs at a master of quack fu.
That's the end of that one. That's kind of given the other side that the reptilians are here and they're not really evil. But the next one, if you've still got patience for the whole story, it's 8 minutes and it proves they're really here to harm us.
All right.
There's some quite good points in that last one. Do you want to hear the last one and then we'll sum it up?
Yep.
Whether they're out to get us or not. There we go.
Something I like to cover here. You can see here, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Now, that same quote was used by the actor in the Thor movie, where he said the technology and magic, they can't tell the difference. So, now you got this theory of these reptiles and these shapeshifters and stuff. So you might have to really begin to consider, is this just a really advanced form of technology? And is there anything from the ancient past that can kind of confirm or deny or kind of help us, point us in the right direction as to whether or not, you know, these shape-shifting things actually do exist? Now there's one particular area in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which some people think Thoth is Satan, and some people think he's not, whatever. But what I'm just going to take it from here is the 8th tablet. I'm going to read a little bit here for you. And then I'm going to show you some videos here to see if we made a link. So it goes on here in the 8th tablet. Speak I of ancient Atlantis, speak of the days of the kingdom of shadows, speak of the coming of the children of shadows. Out of the great deep were they called by the wisdom of earth men, called for the purpose of gaining great power. Far in the past, before Atlantis existed, men there were who delved into darkness, using dark magic, calling up beings from the great deep below us. Further came they into this cycle, formless were they, of another vibration, existing unseen by the children of earth men. Only through blood could they have formed being. Only through man could they live in the world. In ages past were they conquered by masters, driven below to the place whence they came. But some there were who remained, hidden in spaces and plains unknown to men. Lived they in Atlantis as shadows, but at times they appeared among men. Aye, when the blood was offered, for they came, they to dwell among men. In the form of man they amongst men, but only to sight were they as are men. Serpent-headed when the glamour was lifted, but appearing to man as men among men. Crept they into the councils, taking forms that were like unto men, slaying by their arts the chiefs of the kingdoms, taking their form and ruling over man. Only by magic could they be discovered, only by sound could their faces be seen. Sought they from the kingdom of shadows to destroy man and rule in his place. Now, if you go back there and you say, only by magic could they be discovered, how about only by advanced technology could they be discovered? Could they be seen with technology? Serpent-headed, and serpents got tongues. And it also says, slaying by their arts the chiefs of the kingdoms. Now, take a look at a picture here. Last year, John Kerry showed up. Look at his face. This is January 24th, 2012. Okay? He's beaten. There's some bubble on his eye. And they're trying to say he was playing a friendly hockey game. This 6'8" dude who probably doesn't even know how to hold a hockey stick. Okay? And look at him. He's bloody and battered and beaten. Or was he slain and taken over? If you look at the Kerry nowadays, he doesn't seem to have many wrinkles on his face, so I don't know if it's collagen or what. But we're just going along this theory. Now take a look at this girl here. This is by the Pope, Ratzinger, during his internet praise the internet speech. Now look at her tongue. You see how it goes up and underneath? See right here, underneath the lip? See how big that sucker is? Okay? Now, we're going to go over here and take a look at the Senate confirmation hearings, which was like January 2013. Look at Kerry here. Look at his tongue. Now, if you notice that tongue goes. And sometimes it's a tongue that actually does pop out. Other times, this is a thing that shoots out underneath his lip, and it's so fast. I got to slow it down here. I'll put all the original clips that you guys can watch down here. But in this, he's talking about his New World Order and all this other stuff. The New World Order, in my opinion, if this reptilian theory is correct, are these ancient beings from the kingdom of shadows that have come and taken over men. That they've taken over their bodies, and they are now ruling in the kingdoms of men. Just as it was stated in the Bible when the devil told Christ to bow before him because he and said you can have any kingdom you want because he rules all of them. The serpent rules them all because they've taken over these cowards who have sold their souls. So wherever the real John Kerry may or may not be, I don't know. But this theory seems pretty logical, and it almost seems as though these people are bent on the destruction of mankind. They cloak themselves behind all types of different fads and rages and movements. Right now they're cloaking themselves behind the civil rights movement, the gay movement, so they're hiding behind the gays and the blacks and the Jews. They like to hide behind the Jews. They always have a victim mentality, and they lie their ass off. And when they're confronted with a lie, they get angry very fast. They won't have a logical conversation with anybody because it doesn't process in their reptilian brain. They're savages, and that's who runs this country, in my book, in this theory. Now, to further prove this point a little more, John Kerry donned his beaten, battered face at the White House during the Boston Bruins Stanley Cup ceremony. Now, I did a video a while back about the Boston Bruins logo. So if you look at it right here, it's got the symbol in the back and then the B. The B is a 13. There's a 1 and a 3 there in that B. Lowercase b can look like a 6 and a 9. So now the symbol in the back here is quite interesting because it could be a satanic symbol because it's used very often. And you could see it here at St. Peter's Basilica. Now, basilica is very close to the word basilisk, which is a serpent monster. So now it's up to you to decide whether or not it's possible that all the rulers of the world and all the rulers of all the religions are compromised, and this whole entire world is being hijacked by ancient entities that dwell in the shadows and come from another realm or vibration.
Well, there you go, Tim. That's as much as I can find.
Oh, that's great.
I'm now looking at the top 10 reptilian shapeshifters ever. Number 10, it was a Guns N' Roses singer. I don't know number 8, but Gareth Ball is at number 9. Gareth Ball is at number 8. He's worth $130 million, and I believe he plays for one of the London teams, because he always places a Illuminati hand signal when he scored a goal. Hillary Clinton is at number 7 because of her tongue and her eye. Number 6 is Miley Cyrus. She's got the tongue of the reptilian. The top 5 is interesting. I'm just watching a video to give me them. Justin Bieber. Yeah, Justin Bieber. Number 5. I'm counting these probably wrong, but the next one will be... Come on, you silly machine. There we go. Rihanna. Rihanna's a reptilian, according to this top 10.
It wouldn't surprise me. They all are.
Yeah, number 4 is in control of 1.7 million Catholics. Have a guess. The Pope. Number 3 is in charge of the whole of the US. He doesn't have a passport. Obama. Barack Obama. At number 3. Number 2, we have the British royal family. The Queen, Charles, her husband, basically all of them. The ones that have just got married. Diana wasn't a reptilian because they wanted to murder her. And number 1, apparently Jesus was a reptilian.
No, nonsense.
I know. He says, don't believe me, keep watching and you will learn. He gives some Hebrew stuff. Yeah, well, that's the end of that one then.
Interesting. Yeah, the Emerald Tablets of Tulsa, I've had that presented to me. Hang on. Just go ahead, Annie. Hello?
Thanks for listening to the Truth Police Live with Andy Teacher from the UK and Timothy Spearman from Canada. Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 5 p.m. UK time. Find the Truth Police radio show on Facebook. Visit Tim's website at www.shapesaspire.com or visit www.lulu.com. Search for Timothy Spearman and find his book Sailing the Seven Seas, butterfly dreams, and odds on favourite. Visit the station's website www.freedomtalkradio.co.uk or email
freedomtalkradio.net, and you are listening to Freedom Talk Radio.
From beautiful Saline in southeastern Michigan.
Around the world.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam in the World winner. This is SETV.
Yeah, back to the Truth Police this Monday with Tim and Andy. Got some more reports just in the last hour that the flight did actually crash, according to the BBC again. Well, yeah, I suppose that's normal because who they are, the British Never Tell the Truth Corporation. Yeah, so there's nothing more to say, but it's now being, you know, I was going to say bullshit corporation, that it's now coming out mainstream now. But how can you report something gone, missing, people have died, if you haven't found the records of bodies? Even under normal, you know, even under disinformation terms, you must have some kind of report. There we go. What does that say there? Taken away on stretchers by medical teams, news agency reported. You know, look back into this. Who's taken away on stretchers? On Monday, the company told the BBC guys, where are we? Malaysian Prime Minister, it was a conclusion of fresh analysis of satellite data tracking the flight. Najib Razak said this was a conclusion of fresh analysis of satellite data tracking the flight. And they've had 2 weeks to tell us about that. Malaysia Airlines have told the families of the 239 people on board. BBC has sent a text message. Oh, I've seen the text message sent to families by the airline. Oh, that's good. Ding! Your family member is dead. The BBC have seen the message. 227 passengers, many of them Chinese. Relatives of those on board, you watched the announcement at a Beijing hotel. Wept with grief. So there's something missing here, Tim. Don't they have to have bodies or wreckage before they put panic on?
Well, you would think that they'd have to have something pretty solid to go on to make a statement that the plane has actually crashed. I have it that it crashed in the sea, no? What do you have?
Yeah, it says the same. It says it was based on new analysts by British satellite firm Inmarsat, which provided, go away woman, satellite data on the UK's Air Accidents Investigation Branch. The firms have concluded the MH370 flew along the southern corridor and that its last position was in the middle of the ocean west of Perth. Mr. Razak said, "This is a remote location, far from any possible landing. It is therefore with deepest sadness and regret I must inform you that, according to this new data, it crashed and ended in the southern Indian Ocean." Mr. Razak appealed to the media to respect privacy of families, passengers and crew, saying the wait for information has been heartbreaking. Its latest news harder still. The text message sent to families by Malaysian Airlines announcing the loss of the plane said Malaysian Airlines deeply regret they have to assume beyond any reasonable doubt that the flight MH370 has been lost and that none of those on board survived. We must now accept all evidence suggests the plane went down in the southern Indian Ocean. The father of a 29-year-old aviation engineer who was on the flight said a father of a 29-year-old said some family members of the passengers broke down in tears at the news. We accept the news of the tragedy it is fate, Salamat told the Associated Press in Kuala Lumpur. So yeah. Believe it? No. Can't have any. You got to have bodies. You got to have the plane identification tag or even the words. You know.
Exactly.
You can't just. You just can't give. I mean, it's worse not knowing anything than tell them something that's definitely wrong until they got evidence.
Mhm. Good point by you.
Hey, do you have anything else for us?
Yeah. Hang on. Billionaire tells Americans to prepare for financial ruin. The United States could soon become a large-scale Spain or Greece, teetering on the edge of financial ruin. That's according to Donald Trump, who painted a very ugly picture of where this country is headed. Trump made comments during a recent appearance on Fox News on the record. According to Trump, the United States is no longer a rich country. When you're not rich, you have to go out and borrow money. We're borrowing from the Chinese and others. We're up to $16 trillion in debt. He goes on to point out that the downgrade of U.S. debt is inevitable. Yeah, he's part of it. You know, he's part of the whole scheme to scam America. I mean, the money has been stolen. The banksters have made off with it. It's been transferred in large part to China. And this transfer of wealth has also gone to the Vatican and other places, and they've siphoned off the wealth of the United States. There's disappearing money from the Federal Reserve Bank. It's stolen money, and this is a deliberate sabotage of the United States. It's being systematically destroyed. So, you know, it's not about America being bankrupt. It's not about Americans not minding their shop. It's not Americans' fault. It's foreign interests that have absolutely sabotaged the United States.
Has Donald Trump had anything to do with that?
Oh, of course he has something to do with it. They're all part of the same club. He wouldn't have the privilege he has if he weren't a Satanist that's part of the game.
Yeah, because...
And I'm tired of all the semantics. You know, the reptilians, the Anunnaki, the this, the that. They're Satanists. That's it. I mean, look at the Bible. Go back to the brass tacks. Go back to the Quran. Go back to the text. What did they warn us about? It's the end times. What is it all coming down to? Forget all the distractions. Forget David Icke and all these other idiots debating on whether they're the reptilians or the Anunnaki or the whatevers. They're the fallen angels. Come on, get with it. Like, come on, just wake up and stop being distracted by all the smoke and mirrors, dogs and pony shows, and all the nonsense. They're Satanists. That's it. There's no mystery to any of it. It's all in the Bible. It's all in the Quran. It's not as if we weren't warned. You know, it's tiresome, you know. It really is tiresome. You've been warned. You don't read the books that we were supposed to read that warned you about what's to come. And so now we're in the situation where we can't see what's in front of us because we don't read the books of wisdom anymore, the holy texts of our religious faith that warned us. And previous generations were well warned. We're not. by design, because the education system has taken religion out of the education system. So, we don't get any religious education in our schools anymore. And people don't read the Bible, or, well, they still read the Quran over in the Middle East, but that's why there's such a war against the Middle East, because the Satanists are trying to take them out, because they're the only bastion of religious faith left.
Yeah, well, our other Tim,
yeah.
he does a show called End Times Matrix, and he always refers to modern day problems or disasters or whatever to the Bible as well, and he's very good at it. But yeah, and he said Satan, everybody's Satan, so it's a shame that we couldn't just get on with our life and not worry about the bullies.
Yeah. Well, we do get on with things. It's just that we have to deal with a lot of nonsense along the way. But we did manage to get the job done somehow. And if we end our lives knowing that we've accomplished the things that we were sent here to accomplish or meant to accomplish, then job well done is all I can say.
It'll work. It'll work one day, hopefully. Oh dear. Yeah, so they're all reporting the plane is gone. The flight disaster movie's been put on pause in wake of today's announcement. An Australian flight disaster movie has been put on hold in the wake of the tragic news. Alistair Grierson's Deepwater, a vague sequel to shark horror film Bait 3D, follows the story of a doomed flight that crashes into remote depths of the ocean en route to China. They're even making a film out of it already. But it's been put on pause.
Another film that's nothing but a lie, I guess. Like that 9/11 film that they came out with that tried to explain what happened to the one flight.
Yeah, true.
The one where the passengers rebelled and tried to save the plane, and then it went down in Pennsylvania, that one.
So I was just reading a song that Maggie sent me from Michael Unsworth in Australia. Oh yeah, and yeah, I thought that was Boys Only. He told me, yeah. Good. So I'm all over the place today. Sorry, Maggie keeps. I told her go away.
Transnistria may become part of Russia. The Supreme Council of the Unrecognized Republic of Transnistria appealed to the State Duma of Russia to provide for the possibility of entering the region in Russia in the Russian legislation. After the events in the Crimean Republic, the country is under siege. Ukraine imposed restrictions on travel for Russians in Transnistria through its territory. The border was closed for cargo as well. What do you think about that, Andy?
Just having problems finding you. Yeah, I was reading something, to be fair. I was multitasking. Yeah, I've run out of steam now. I don't know what I was going to say. There's not much in the news today, to be honest. There's not much. It's the same old, isn't it? We're being controlled, being watched, we're being targeted, taking our money. Oh yeah, what about the post earlier on from Maggie? HumansAreFree.com. Paedophilia lawsuits, slave, children.
Okay, go on.
I haven't found it yet. That one. Yeah, paedophilia lawsuit. Slave children forced to have sex with royalty, politicians, I'll call them academics. Bill Clinton also visited the villa.
I sent that to you earlier today.
Yeah, a new lawsuit has revealed even more shocking details about the secret lives of all powerful elites. Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted pedophile and good friend of former U.S. President Clinton, kept children as sex slaves on his private island, Little St. James, in the early 2000s. If you're already shocked and disgusted, please bear with me a little longer, because you haven't heard the worst yet. According to flight logs between the years 2002 and 2005, the former President Bill Clinton made multiple trips to Epstein's private island. One unidentified woman testified in the lawsuit. I remember asking Jeffrey, what's Bill Clinton doing here? And he laughed it off and said, well, he owes me a favour. According to the Inquirer, the lawsuit also claims that Bill Clinton was friends with an unnamed woman who kept images of naked underage children on her computer, helped to recruit underage children for Epstein, and photographed underage females in sexually explicit poses. Sexually abused slave children was identified as Jane Doe 102, and her testimony sheds light into the dark lives of the world's elites. According to her testimony, she was forced to live as one of Epstein's underage sex slaves for years and was forced to have sex with politicians, businessmen, royalty, academics, etc. The Inquirer. More than 40 women testified against Jeffrey Epstein and identified him as a paedophile and sexual predator, which was enough to convict him. Wait for it. He got a whopping 18 months in jail, of which he only served 12 months behind bars. Are you outraged yet? You should be. Only months after Epstein was released, Prince Andrew reportedly stayed at Epstein's mansions in New York.
There you go.
And then they're showing us all the faces. Clinton, Epstein, that woman. Good old internet. It does tell the truth.
Well, I know that they're all involved, and that the Prime Ministers of Canada are inclusive. There's allegations made by David Icke about Pierre Trudeau and Brian Mulroney, former Prime Ministers of Canada. And the Niagara Falls came up where Mulroney would make cross-border trips to Niagara Falls, New York, and abuse underage women and so forth on that side of the border and then return. We get a common story being told about all the globalists. I've attended academic conferences. I've seen the arrogance. They're an exclusive club. They'll never let you in. You're always an outsider. I've never been called doctor, even though I have a PhD. I'm never treated like one. I'm always treated like an inferior. They're bullies. They are agenda-driven. They will only peer review my papers and attack them. They never attack each other. And, well, there's nothing of substance in their papers. Nothing in their academic papers matter. It's of no importance. But anyone who's a visionary or anyone who's got something of substance to share, they go into committee and find as many faults with the paper as they can, and then they do a lynch job on you. It's clear that the person who's supposed to be peer reviewing your paper has not done it alone. They've had help. I can't stand them. I say I despise professors and academicians, but in essence I would say that about any field I was in, because the people that are ruling the show are Satanists. They're bullies, and wouldn't you expect them to be, because their father is Satan. Whether they got the Cainite bloodline or whether they're just simply sellouts and intellectual prostitutes and opportunists, it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. They're working for the devil. They do the devil's bidding, and they are of the devil. So what can I say about them? May they rot in hell. I have no time for them. I don't even want to meet another professor. I don't even want to have anything to do with the whole ugly mess. And I don't certainly want to meet any politicians, nor do I want to meet any of the elite. I have no time for them. There's never going to be an honest meeting. There's never going to be an honest agenda. We must cut them out of the loop and go around them. How do we do that? By starting a grassroots movement, which we're doing, and by simply ignoring them. Forget them. They're irrelevant. They have nothing to do with us. We have only given them that by voting for them. We shouldn't vote for them, and we shouldn't watch their TV or their programming or any of their crap. It's of no value. Alternative is the only way. And ignore them. They're irrelevant. We have to stop kowtowing to them. And people in Britain, for heaven's sake, stop supporting Her Royal Majesty. She's nothing. She's just one of them. She's a Satanist. The whole royal family are Satanists. Stop supporting them. It's not a British institution. It's a satanic institution. It's for the undermining of the UK. It's for the undermining of the world. Stop supporting it. What is wrong with you? Can you not see that they're not for you, that they're not with you, that they're against you? In everything they do, on all of their actions, by their works they shall be known. You know, it's all over the place, Andy. It's right in front of your face. It's so obvious, and yet people will still curry favor with the elites because it makes them look good, and they have some type of benefit to be gained from it, so they think. No, you have no benefit to gain from it. First of all, you've sold your soul. Second of all, there's no future if you do. So it's a choice. Either stand up and be brave and go against them, or go with them to your certain doom. Now, this book, well, that's going to make a difference. The books I'm working on, and the books and the programming that we do and our network and everything else is going to make a big difference, Andy.
Yeah, the truth. Should be called the truth, really, shouldn't it? But a truth about history. We've had hidden from history, but the truth, yeah, something like that. Mm. I keep getting distracted by the old woman. I was looking up the top 10 Satanists in the world. They're all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Like?
It distracts you though, because there's movies, there's bands. A Zimbabwean Satanist said, "Worship the devil and get rich."
What are the top 10 Satanists? Did you have a list there?
No, I can't find it.
Well, let's do our own.
Yeah, that'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Her Royal Duff. And, yeah. And, the Rothschild.
Rockefellers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've got to have
the Pope in Rome, the Black Pope, the head of the Jesuit order, the general as they call him, and the White Pope, I guess you could say, because he's in a position of influence and power, and he's a Satanist too. So, are all the popes Satanists? I guess not. There's evidence that John VI wasn't. There's evidence that Pope John Paul I wasn't. So I guess they have to make it seem that the Vatican is holy sometimes by bringing in authentic and true people, but you can see that the last Pope, Benedict Ratzinger, whatever you want to call him, he was definitely satanic. You could see it plainly, and his record it speaks for itself, and the work of the International Criminal Court to indict him, and the fact that he's in hiding, and that he's been indicted in trafficking of children and all that, I mean, that speaks for itself. So.
No, I had my list earlier on and it's disappeared. But I'd say George Bush myself. Not sure whether it's Junior or the...
Oh, well, the Bushes. Yeah, the Bush family, sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. Major players.
Clinton's, Al Gore. I mean, in this list, John Kennedy's there. John F. Kennedy, but I'd disagree on that one.
Well, he certainly got the satanic bloodline. He's from a satanic bloodline family, one of the Illuminati bloodline families. But good seed among bad seed, I guess you could put it. Because I don't think he was. I don't think he was evil. I don't think he was bad. I think he was.
No, I read somewhere that J.F. Kennedy and Diana, Lady Diana, they were just in the way, so they had to be murdered.
Yeah, but there's more to it than that. There's something about the two of them that tells me that they knew of their arrival long in advance, and that Diana was selected as the mother that would give birth to the Antichrist. Now, I've got a book that I've edited where it gets into this in depth, that Prince William is the Antichrist, and that she was selected as the means by which he would be bred. She would create the Antichrist through the breeding program that they had already had in mind and had planned, and that you're looking at the Cainite bloodline, and the Stewart family has the Cainite bloodline, and the Spencer family are Stewarts, and the Saxe-Coburg-Gotha family of Germany, which is the Windsors, who changed their name to name themselves after their castle in England. They are also of the Cainite bloodline. So all the different royal families in Europe have the Cainite bloodline, and they interbreed with each other, and they try to keep their bloodlines pure by interbreeding with one another, just as the elites like the Rothschilds do. The Rockefellers are just a branch of the Rothschild family, if the truth be known. So, yeah, it's more complicated in the sense that I think they knew that JFK and Diana would come, and that they were already slated for sacrifice before they were probably even born. The street plan from Washington, D.C., and the coincidences between Lincoln and Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, in terms of their death, and the Arlington Memorial Bridge showing the Lincoln Memorial at one end of the bridge and the Kennedy Memorial at the other end of the bridge. It all shows prior planning. So these occultists, these black magicians, they know about these coming events long in advance, just like Nostradamus, who's actually an agent of the House of Guise and Lorraine, by the way, which means that he was of the Knight Templar persuasion. He was Jewish. When I say Jewish, I really mean bloodline of Cain. He didn't have a holy bone in his body, I don't believe, and even though his name means Our Lady, as in the Holy Mother, I would suspect that it's a blasphemy name that is intended to be blasphemic, and that it's a reference to Magdalene, the whore. I'd actually believe that Nostradamus was not so much engaged in prophecy as he was engaged in sorcery, and that he was working for the Black Cabal, the Dark Cabal, the Satanists. Anyway, they know what's coming. I've been in the room where I've seen it happen, where a Satanist and a Cainite actually went into meditation, and his eyes rolled back in his head so that all I could see were the whites of his eyes, and he channeled directly from higher beast power. I remember the night that I stayed there in that building, he said that he was going to call Bytalk the beast. He was going to summon him that night, and I actually heard a cloven hoofed figure walking through the room and saw my suitcase with my laundry bag in it rustling before my very eyes in the dark. It was a frightening night, to say the least, Andy.
Wow. Yeah, just before we go, Kissinger, Mikhail Gorbachev, we've got the Astors, the DuPonts, Dick Cheney, Robert C. Byrd, and very, very strangely, Box Caldwell, the country music singer, they say he's a Satanist paedophile, and Bob Hope, comedian, lifetime asset of British intelligence, mind control, slave handler, and manipulator of the entertainment industry. Well, yeah, I suppose, including the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Davis Jr., Dean Martin, and then modern days we've got, well, the Jimmy Saviles of this world and all the other naughty entertainers. So yeah, it's possible. Billy Graham, the Christian hero, as they put it.
They're all involved. I've had it that all of the church leaders in the United States, all of them are Satanists. All of them.
Churchill, Hitler, Tony Blair, and the list goes on.
They're all part of it, my friend. This explains the, photos of Hitler, Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt all together buddy-buddy during the war. I mean, they're all part of the same club, just playing opposing sides in a stage drama.
Yeah, sure. A lot of people have been listening, actually. I opened the chat room and I've not actually been taken. Oh yeah, are you English? I am an American. You've got any tyranny over there in England? Because we sure are getting bad here in the States. There are a few YouTube videos claiming 370s in Diego Garcia. Well, I knew that already. Guns and store food. When you ignore them, they will come after you. And he's gone. Well then, my friend, it's been nice again, and sorry that you didn't like my reptiles, but I don't think you meant it personally. I just thought it would be different to explain things.
Yeah, just before you go, on that score about the entertainers, they were definitely involved. Boxcar Willie, just like the Doors, refers to the boxcars of human perception and the doors of perception. So Jim Morrison and the Doors, so they were all involved. Now, Jim Morrison's father was involved in U.S. naval intelligence, and I imagine he was co-opted. And no satanic intelligence services are part of the game. They actually use the intelligence services to promote the satanic agenda of the New World Order, of the Antichrist, trying to replace the old world order of the Lord. And so this is all a counterfeit planet under the authority of the counterfeiters who are working for the ultimate counterfeiter, which is Satan or Lucifer, the fallen angel, who would like to counterfeit the whole planet to make it, in his image, which would be a travesty of the original creation as designed by God. So when you look at genetically modified food, and when you look at all of that, you can see that it's a travesty, that it's a destruction of the Garden of Eden. It's a destruction of the perfect fruit that was in the garden. It's an attempt to completely satanize the entire planet and to even make us eat satanic food stuff. And for heaven's sakes, we've got human meat in the McDonald's hamburger, and no doubt Burger King and many of the fast food outlets that we visit. So as they all sacrifice our children to their God, they're at the same time making us eat our own progeny in these burgers. Now think about the horror of one of these parents that's actually had their children abducted so that they could be sacrificed in a ritual, and then going to a fast food outlet only to find that they're chowing down on their own child. Now that's a pretty ugly thought now, isn't it? It reminds me of the House of Atreus and the myth of the House of Atreus, which was recorded in Aeschylus's Oresteia, where you actually have one brother betraying the other brother, one being a satanic type brother who actually has his brother ostensibly under the invitation of an invite that's meant to repair their relationship, and then he has him send his son in advance to help prepare the meal, only to sacrifice the son and to include him in the food for the evening, so that when he serves his brother his repast, he's actually dining on the entrails of his own son. I mean, sick, but very true in that satanic world. Now, all those entertainers that are involved in that MK Ultra nonsense, as we know, and they're all mind controlled, and they have these two names like Miley Cyrus and Hannah Banana or Hannah Montana, whatever, and it's all part of this whole mind control and demonic possession business that they're in, and they call it show business. And there's no business like show business, right, Andy?
Yeah, and I think they've given these people deliberate names, Boxcar Willie, think about the Willie bit, and Bob Hope, there's always hope.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I think they're stage names.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The names are very significant. If you were to analyze them, you'd find out what their true import really is and what their true significance. So, yeah, thanks very much. So, shall we end today's show then?
Yeah, I don't know what's coming up. I was just going to have a look. Oh, look at that. Saturday, Monday. You know, we've got nobody coming on. Yeah, we'll end the show. We've got nobody coming on. But then I love it this way because Brian pops in and, yeah, that's good.